Hello everyone, welcome to today's lesson on ellipses. Now, you might be familiar with ellipses if you've played rugby or you've ever eaten an egg. Okay, because these shapes are classified as elliptical shapes. Okay, and there are different types of ellipses. They range in size and so on. And as you can see, the rugby ball in the image, okay, as central to the logo and the IRFU, the Irish rugby team. Okay, the ellipse in itself is a shape that we learn to draw in graphics, and as you can see there as I'm talking, there's actually a particular method that we're going to use called the concentric circles method, and you can see how that's playing out at the moment. Now I don't want you to look too deeply at that for the moment, because I'm going to go through it with you on paper in a few moments. But as you can see there, the ellipse, it's a very familiar shape, okay, and it's one that's very important in graphics. It's one that requires a lot of accuracy, attention to detail, and freehand curve drawing, which for some of you can be a little bit of a challenge at the start, but with practice we make perfect. Okay, so just to recap very quickly, we're going to be using the concentric circles method. Okay, and I'm going to take you through that now in just a few moments after the ellipse on screen, the electronic one, is formed. Okay, let's get to the ellipse and how we actually draw it. Well, the method I'm going to use to draw the ellipse is called the concentric circles method. Okay, and I'll write that just up here on the top here. Concentric, C-O-N-C-E-N-T-R-I-C, circles method. Okay, so the concentric circles method. Well, basically we're going to draw the ellipse and we're going to use two circles, okay, to do so. And they're going to be called the major circle and the minor circle. Okay, so we'll have the major circle. Okay, and we'll have the minor circle. Now, you're probably figuring out already, the major must be a big circle and the minor must be a smaller one. Well, if you've come to that conclusion already, you are absolutely correct. Okay, so for the purpose of this demonstration, we're not going to be too specific with measurements. I am going to take my compass and I am going to draw what is called the minor circle first, the smaller of the two. Okay, and I'm going to set the radius for this minor circle at 50 millimeters. Now that can be anything. Okay, so 50 millimeters, and I'm going to position it at point O, which is located roughly in the center of the page, and I'm going to swing my circle around. Okay, lovely. That is my minor circle. Now what I want to do using the same center point is draw a major circle. Now, given that the major circle is a bigger one, we're going to have to put a bigger radius than 50, which was used for the minor. So let's say we use a radius of 75. Okay, so I set 75 onto my compass, and I'm just using my basic compass here because I have the colour. I can put it into it, whereas if you're at home, use your standard bow compass. Alright, much more accurate. Okay, and what I'm going to do here now, position it at point 0, and I am going to draw that major circle. Okay, and they both share the same centre point. Hence the name concentric circles method. That means that we have two circles sharing the same center point, okay, and they're concentric, inline if you want to call it. Now, so what I want to do here is I want to draw in my next bit of information. Okay, I have two very important lines that I need to draw in here that are going to define my ellipse. Before I do that, I want to tell you that my ellipse, when I draw it, is going to be in this orientation, as we call it, on the horizontal. Now I could orientate it on the vertical, or alternatively I could draw it at different angles. However, we're going to go for the standard horizontal here. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my T-square. If you don't have a T-square at home, that's fine. Just try your best with your normal set square to keep things as level as you possibly can. Okay? You might find by putting your page into the corner of a table and working off that might help you to actually align your page correctly. So I'm going to draw a big line now, okay? And you can see I'm actually drawing this line and I am breaking it up. Why is that? Because this is what we call an axis line, okay? So that axis line is the major axis for us, okay? So that's a major axis, and I'm going to write that in there, major axis. Okay, and the major axis reaches the major circle on both sides, because this is the major circle. Okay, and just in case we need any clarity on that, we might as well write it in. This is the major. And this one in here would be what? The minor. Okay, now, so we've drawn the major axis, I guess. Now we'll have to draw the minor axis. And what we're going to do is, using the t-square and the set-square, line up with the center point. And this time, we're going to draw an axis line contained within the minor circle. So you can see here, straight away. Here we go. Alright. Now, what that gives me is it gives me 4 points that are on the ellipse already. Okay? Gives me the top and bottom and the 2 sides of the ellipse. So what I want to do now is find the points in between that I can join up. And we have a method for doing that. Before I do that, I'm going to label these points here. We'll call it point A, B, C, and D. Okay? Here's point A, B, C, and D. They are points on the ellipse. Okay? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to use the 60-30 division method to generate the points for our ellipse. Now, the reason we use 60-30 is because we have a 60-degree, 30-degree set square. And it allows us to divide up the circle in 12 ways, because we can do it, you know, straight up, straight across, and then we can go 60 degrees in both directions and 30 degrees in both directions, okay? And it gives us lots of points that we can use to form the curve. And the more points we have, the more accurate the curve is. But when we divide up the circle, you don't always have to be at 30 or 60 degrees. They can be any degrees at all, okay? But for keeping things nice and tidy and simple when we're learning how to draw ellipses, we'll use the 60-30 method, okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my 60-degree, 30-degree set square, line it up at point 0, very important there, through the center point, and I'm going to draw 30-degree line in that direction, and a 30-degree line in the opposite direction. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a 60-degree line in this direction, and a 60-degree line in the opposite direction. Now, quite a few lines there now at the moment, as you can see, 30 degree and 60 degree and straight up and straight across and so on. But what do we do with these lines? And firstly, before we move any further, it's very important that those lines extend all the way out to the major circle. Okay? Here's an example of how we are going to locate a point on our ellipse. I'm going to take the example of this 30-degree line right here. So I'm going to mark it where it hits the minor and where it hits the major. Where it hits the minor, I'll just call that point 1. Where it hits the major, I'll call that point 2. And what I want to do is I want to form a little triangle here. 1, 2, and then a point 3 somewhere here. And that point 3 is going to be the point that is contained on the curve of the ellipse. So, what I do is I am going to draw a line from point 2 straight down to meet a line coming across from point 1 straight across. And you can see it's very important here that that's a line coming straight down. So I'm using the t-square and the set square straight down, and then I'm using the t-square to draw the line from 1 straight across. Where those two lines intersect, that means cross over, that gives me point 3. And point 3 is a point on the curve of our ellipse, just like point A, B, C, and D are. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat that same method for each of the points. So now, and across, and always mark your point when you have it found, Try to keep things nice and tidy if you can. Down and across. Again, we'll go down and across. And across. Of course, you're finding this confusing, or I'm doing it too fast. Slow it down. Play it back. Up and across. Again, we'll go up and across. Then we'll go up and across here. Obviously it's facing out this side. And again, we'll go up and across here. And it doesn't matter if those lines are really long or anything or overrunning, that's fine. So long as we get them to intersect, and that's a vertical line up and a horizontal line across. Can't be at any other angles. Okay? So now I have the points for the actual ellipse. And what I want to do there, firstly, with my pencil, is I want to lightly join those. Okay, now it's been a little while since I've drawn an ellipse. So I'll lightly join them first. And when I'm happy with the shape and the neatness and the accuracy of the curve, I will then heavy it in. So I'm not going real heavy now, I'm going light. And if I'm really happy with what I have, then yeah, okay, I can heavy it in. Now, you might see that very lightly at home there. So I'm reasonably happy with that. Now I'm going to use one of my drawn pens here. Okay, you don't have to have a drawn pen, you can just go back over with your pencil a little bit heavier. But I'm just for the purpose of making it more visible to you, I am going to draw it over, like so. And I'm always keeping an eye on the point ahead of me. Okay? A lot of people get into the idea of looking at the actual tip of the pencil. But if I had a piece of advice for you, it's look at the point ahead of you, because what will happen is your hand will follow your eye. And I think that's one of the biggest tips I ever learned with drawing an ellipse. Okay? So keep an eye on the point ahead of you. So now, there we go. Quick recap. I have the ellipse drawn now, standard horizontal ellipse, using the concentric circles method. I have the major circle, which is the big one. I have the minor circle, which is this one. I have the major axis, which is this one. Forgot to write in minor axis. Good thing I look back over there. Minor axis. Okay. The major axis spans the major circle. The minor axis spans the minor circle. Okay. Now, if I wanted to do them in the opposite way, if I want to do the major that way, the minor this way, I would get a vertical ellipse. Okay. But this is a horizontal one. Now you can see those lines, those light blue lines, they are the 60 degree, 30 degree lines that I use to divide up the circle to locate my points. How did I do that? We'll take an example here. Coming from the center point 30 degrees out, that 30 degree line hits the minor circle at point 1, the major circle at point 2, and to find point 3 on the triangle we want to create, for the point 3 which is going to be on the curve, we draw a line straight across, horizontal from point 1, to meet a line coming down vertically from point 2. Where they intersect, it gives me point 3. That's a point on the curve of the ellipse, just like A, B, C and D were already. Then I repeat the same method for each of the lines. And I find all of my points. All 12 points now are found, and I join the ellipse up. I do it lightly first, and then I heavy after. And depending on the requirements of a question down the line, there might be a little design to be put in there and so on. But that's pretty much it. Okay? So if you have any questions, just, feel free to drop me a message, or for my own students, just ask. Alright? Google Classroom. Okay? Have a good day.